Hey all, welcome back. So I'm planning on making some amazing homemade shawarmas. I'm going to be making some homemade toum, then in a future video, some pickled veggies to go in the shawarma, along with revising and improving my original recipe for shawarma chicken. And I'm excited to show you everything in these shorter bite-sized videos so that you have everything you need for your best shawarma made at home. Now, toum in Arabic translates to garlic, and its uses in food and medicinal purposes can be traced all the way back to the ancient times. But it's Lebanon that actually popularized its use in this particular form, particularly shared with shawarmas, grilled meats, and modern Middle Eastern cuisine really is incomplete without toum. Now, I would have to say, I have become somewhat of an expert myself in making it because the version you'll be seeing today, that's going to be the final product, is going to be my 5th attempt at making it. And I know a lot about how not to make it, which I'm excited to share with you, so you don't have to go through all this garlic and oil and not get toum. I'll tell you first what I will be using. I'm using an immersion blender and I'm using a cup. A cup, basically like a food storage container. Even a mason jar would work if it's a particular kind. We'll get to that later. But let me tell you what doesn't work. Now, when I bought my Vitamix, I was convinced that Vitamix is going to be the only food processor I will ever need, because it's the best blender in the world. At least I thought that. I thought it could do anything. So full confidence, I went into the recipe, I conceptualized something, and I started making it. And all I got was split garlicky soup. And I was super disappointed. I thought maybe I put too much and it just didn't process everything properly, so I reduced the amount. I did a quarter of the recipe that I had planned to make, and again, down the drain. Well, technically I threw it out. I would not put oil down the drain. So then I'm like, okay, everybody seems to be using food processors, but I don't want a huge thing that's gonna hog up space in my pantry or on my countertops. I want something that's a bit more nimble. So a hand immersion blender with perhaps an attachment with the actual like pitcher that I can use for like other things. Great. Well, then I tried to use the pitcher that came with it. But before trying with that, I just did a practice run where I used the jar from a Ninja creamy machine, and it turned out perfectly. I'm like, I'll do the same thing with the pitcher that actually came with my hand immersion blender. Because it worked earlier, why would it not work now? Well, it didn't work. But it was better than the Vitamix. It did not split, but it was still not as thick, fluffy, and emulsified like it was in the Ninja Creamy Cup. And I'm there scratching my head like, what am I doing wrong? When it clicked finally, I'm like, okay, so you can't have the immersion blender go into a container that literally doesn't allow any other space for you to actually move and maneuver the hand immersion blender. So I moved to these cups that I actually recently bought to organize my freezer, and hence we are here now. So I started with my pitcher from my immersion blender, put my garlic in there along with my salt. And you want to start to process that until the garlic and the salt is almost completely pureed. There may be a few tiny chunks, but basically finely minced, if not mostly pureed. Then you want to start adding in your oil. And when I noticed that it wasn't getting to the thickness that I wanted it to, I transferred it from the immersion blender pitcher that came with it. And you can see that the base is actually much wider than the mouth of the hand immersion blender. Perfect. And now you start adding the oil a tablespoon at a time. You don't even need to do the drizzle. If you have another person next to you who can do that, well and good. But if not, it doesn't matter. You just keep adding the oil a tablespoon at a time as you move that blender around the bottom of the jar and slowly pulse it up and down and around the circumference of the container. That's going to begin really emulsifying it and turning it really light and fluffy. Listen for this sound because that sound is key. Now, just like that, I added half the oil and then I added in some lemon juice. And you want to keep adding lemon juice and olive oil about a tablespoon at a time until you've used all the oil or you've put enough lemon juice to your tastes. And that's pretty much it, right? It took so much experimentation, so much wasted potential to get this perfect recipe for it. What happens if the toum becomes too thick? Because you don't want it to be mayo. This is not mayonnaise. This should be lighter than it. So you add some ice cold water, a tablespoon at a time again, and you pulse it again 10-20 seconds until it becomes lighter and it gets mixed well together. And if it's too garlicky, you use too much garlic. But you can also try to add more oil to try to reduce the amount of garlic per bite because the oil and the emulsification would take up more volume. The best thing about it is you can really just have it in any way you want, like crackers or like in a sandwich. Basically any way you can use a mayonnaise for, and it's gonna be good with like literally anything. So with this, you're one step closer to some amazing homemade shawarmas, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye.